Welcome to Write On, the podcast from Final Draft. This is the show where we talk about all things screenwriting. I'm your host, Phil Galasso. On today's episode, guest host Sharday Sellers chats with Mike Goyo, the founder of Black Boy Writes and a TV writer on shows including HBO's Insecure.
Issa? Is that me? Oh, shit. Throwback me? This new look is working for us. Do you like this? And we got our braces off. Let me see them teeth. Let me see them teeth. Let me see them teeth. Show me how you eat. We stupid.
See, I might say, baby, here's like money long, we've been getting paid, huh?
How long did it take for you and Ted to get back? We were fake back before we were back.
Child, the jokes I laughed at that weren't even funny.
She was parched, like a shriveled up prune.
Prune.
It's a lifelong journey, girl.
Get it, girl.
I thought this panel was gonna make me feel like somebody, but all it did was remind me of where I'm not.
Patty cake, get your man.
Everything's out of my control. Even with Lyft, I don't control where I go. No, I don't want to take you and your friends to Palm Springs. It's Tuesday. Have you had something to eat today?
No.
Sharday and Mike discussed the importance of representation in a writer's room, his work mentoring up-and-coming writers of color, how he got his first job writing for Issa Rae, and more. Check it out.
Welcome back to Write On, everyone. I'm here with a very talented screenwriter and someone I actually admire very much, Mike Goyo. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Sharday. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I must profess, I've done some research on you. I Googled you. I did. What you're doing just in general, not just in your career, but just what you're doing to help other writers really speaks to my heart, because I always feel like if you have a platform, if you have ability and access, that you should use it. And I see that you are using it exponentially well with Black Boy Writes and Black Girl Writes. So I want to kind of jump right into that because I have so many questions for you. I want to know, what is Black Boy Writes and Black Girl Writes?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I really love being able to talk about my mentorship initiative. But to answer your question, the term Black Boy Writes itself came like a few years ago when I felt like, just losing, Tamir Rice, losing Trayvon Martin, losing just a lot of Black men. I often just think about like who they would have become. Like, did they have aspirations to become creatives? Like, what could they have, experienced in their lives if it wasn't cut so short? And there are times in my own life where I've experienced certain encounters where I'm like, okay, how is this going to go? So it's very much about Black boys' right to exist, but also what capabilities we have if we're allowed to do so, how we're allowed to like thrive. But Black Boy Writes and Black Girl Writes is like birthed out of that idea and that kind of like double entendre of like our right to exist and take up space and create. So that's where that comes from. The mentorship initiative itself was launched at the top of this year and, meant to be able to create access for writers of color who are on the cusp of like, getting staffed or getting into a fellowship or, making that second act transition from like one career to a writing career and, giving them opportunities and access to be able to do that. All of them are talented writers. I have 11 mentees. They're all great. And they all span different genres, just breaking that kind of like myth that, Black people are monolithic, we could only write one thing, or we all experience the same things when that's not true. Like we live varied experiences and we write many types of things. Like there was like an article that came out recently about like the lack of a diversity in writers' rooms and the history of it as it pertains to like, Family Matters was mentioned and how like it was mostly white writers in those rooms and things like that. So the idea of being able to create access to writers in hopes of creating diversity in these writers' rooms are really important to me. Because over everything, even over just my writing career, I often think about like what I want my purpose to be in this industry. And it's very much trying to create an equal playing field for writers of color or creatives of color, trying to, make their mark in this industry.
And what I love about your mentorship program is something that you said in a previous interview, that it's not like the fellowship programs where the buck kind of stops here once the program's done. You take care in seeing everyone through. It is your goal to get everyone staff, but you see them through and you cultivate relationships with these mentees. What do you think is the biggest key piece that Black writers are missing today that could help elevate their careers? Like, what is that one nugget that we're missing that everyone else has that we just are lacked on for some reason?
That's a really good question. And part of the issue is really access. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like for some of our, Caucasian counterparts, there is like almost like this invisible ladder of nepotism that exists that doesn't necessarily exist for us. Not to say that it's wrong, it's just part of the culture of our industry. It's part of the culture of many other industries in terms of like people helping others like get work and things like that or whatever the case might be, and it feels like a natural progression. Whereas our ladder, we have to build it. Like, do you know what I mean? We have to know that it's missing.
Yeah.
Make an effort in building that. Not to say that you're just going to give jobs to people of color just because they're people of color.
Right.
Knowing that like you're in a position of power to help someone else who is extremely talented or as talented as anyone else applying for said position, you should be able to do that. And I feel like these programs, whether it's Lena's program, whether it's Warner Media has a great program that they launched at this year as well that caters to each of their writers' individual needs. We need these different programs in order to help ourselves thrive. And so I think that's like really important. And like no shade against like any of the other fellowship programs. They're fantastic. But I have heard from writers where it's like they finish the program and that's it. They're kind of like left out to their own devices and like trying to figure it out. And sometimes you still need that additional help, that additional push to get your career going, because it's not going to happen in a year. And
it's so great that you say that, because another word for what you're also saying is networking and connect. Like, it's a thing that networking is easy when you have connections. That's really what networking is. It's connection.
Absolutely. And I'm a huge believer that like your network dictates your net worth in this industry. Like you have to be able to network, not to say that like just go off and like network with anyone. You want to be able to build like genuine, purposeful, targeted in the sense of like, you want to be able to build genuine connections with people that you actually like, actually care about, actually want to get to know more of, and, building that friendship. And those things are important as much as the talent, as much as doing the work, as much as being prepared.
You know what I call it? I call it social currency. I've said this so many times. I have more social currency than I am a talented writer. I think people invest in me and who I am, not just because I can write. I'm not the best writer in the world, but people like nice people and good people. They want to work with good people. So I always said my biggest strength in my career was my networking, that I can meet people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that like a part of the reason that if I could speak to this, that I felt as though I can start this mentorship program earlier in my career rather than like waiting years down the line, is that I have the access now.
Yes.
I have the access. Like we have monthly writing workshops and, writer roundtables where we invite established writers to speak to them and give them advice and like give them like tips about the industry and things like that. And there are people that I can reach out to provide that service. So if I have that access now, then why not share it?
Exactly.
It was shared with me coming up, and it was shared with me by anyone from like staff writers, writers assistants, up to showrunners and executive producers. So why not be able to share that knowledge if I have it?
I know someone's listening to this right now and going, yes, I hear all about networking, but no one ever tells me how do I do it? How do I meet these people? So if you had 3 tips for a aspiring writer who's listening, who wants to be better at their social currency and their networking, what would the tips be?
The interesting thing is that the kind of like networking playing field has changed.
Yeah, because of COVID. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So now, like, a lot of the networking events or networking opportunities are online. They're on social media. They're on Twitter. They're on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Listen, I'm not afraid to slide into a DM of a writer that I admire and be like, hey, I think your work is fantastic. You know, would love to chat more or something like that. Listen, I will do that. Yeah. And a lot of times that has bared fruit. Not to say that don't go out there DMing everybody, but, you know, make kind of conscious decisions, make, you know, smart decisions about who it is you want to contact, and don't just necessarily contact them thinking that you're going to be friends or saying, hey, I just want to be friends. No, don't do that.
I always say there's always the lead with, what do they call it? When I was a sorority, they always said you want to sandwich, you know, an ask. So you always want to start with the good, there's the ask, and then into the good. So you'd be surprised how many times compliments work. Like, I really loved your movie. I think we're a very egotistical industry. If someone slid into my DMs was like, I really love Deadly Dispatch, I'd be like, tell me more about what you loved about Deadly Dispatch.
Like, go on. No, but yeah, that's fantastic. And you're absolutely right. You should definitely do that and know what your ask is. Sometimes a lot of people want help, aren't sure how to get help, but also aren't sure how to ask the right questions. You know, people usually want to help you. People usually just want, like, naturally just want to help. But if you don't provide them with a way or a question or a specific ask, then they don't know how to provide what you need. So you have to be able to speak up.
Did you see that video of this TikTok of this young man? He quit his corporate job from Ohio, came all the way out to LA to beg, I don't know which Paul brother it is because I don't know them, but Logan Paul or the other Paul brother for a job. And he's on camera and he's like, you're my guy. You can help me. And he literally, this Paul person looks him in the face and goes, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. He's like, what do you want me to do? Hire you? I don't know you. Like, I'm not your guy. And this poor kid is crying, but you know, I'm watching the video. I'm like, you asked the wrong question. Yeah. You had a big ask and you wasted it. Right in front of you.
You did. Yeah.
And I think that's important for everyone to, it's like when you do get those networking opportunities, like that was a network opportunity, you need to plant the seed. You don't go straight for the big ask. That's insane.
Yeah, definitely plant the seed first. You can't just be out here
begging people for jobs. I felt bad because, you know.
Oh, man. Yeah. But I guess back to your question, social media is a huge way to do it. Emails are cool too. LinkedIn is fantastic. I've been using LinkedIn a lot more lately and realizing how great of a resource it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of it has moved to the internet, a lot of the networking.
And I think that's actually easier.
Yeah, and I know this is the weirdest thing too. Not even weird, but and I don't even know how you measure this or keep someone from doing this, but don't be awkward.
Yeah.
Don't be weird.
Social currency, right? You learn that. Awkwardness is palpable. It's so palpable.
It really is. Sometimes some people as introverts it's natural for them to kind of be a little more awkward. So people should definitely try to work on that, especially if they want to be in situations that are going to be more fruitful for them.
And look, I will attest, there are plenty of writers who are very successful who don't have social currency, who are really awkward, and they're just really talented writers who don't have to talk to people. But more chances than not, is that an option for people that look like me and you?
Usually not. And the thing is, there isn't one way to make it.
Exactly.
There isn't one way to make it. And we're only talking about a couple of different ways, not all the ways. So, if networking isn't necessarily your thing, focus on your craft. Really focus on your craft. Apply to those contests. Apply to the fellowships. Keep at it. You're going to make it. It's not a matter of how it happens for you. It's just a matter of when. And if it takes some time, it takes time.
I love that. Now I want to go back. Thank you for having this wonderful conversation about mentorship and networking, because I think that's important. But I want to go back into you and how you started your career. So I learned that you are a child of Haitian immigrants. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I was born in Haiti, and my parents and I moved to the States when I was 4. I was raised in Boston, Massachusetts.
Big change. That's a big change.
Yes, it's a big change. Like, the first couple of years we lived in Mattapan, which is like, it's almost like a little Haiti in like an Ellis Island for Haitians. That's like where we all went if we were coming to Boston. And then, started off at a school that was like primarily like all Black kids, Haitian kids, English as a second language speaking kids.
Yeah.
And 2 years later moved to Quincy, Massachusetts, which was predominantly white. And I was the only Black kid in the class. So learning how to code switch came very early for me without knowing what it was. Learning how to code switch between being of Haitian descent and meeting African-American friends, learning how to code switch between being an immigrant and being Black and, interacting with Caucasians or white people or people different than myself. And as I got older, code switching between like being like, coming into my gayness, my sexuality, and interacting with straight people. So there's many different ways in which
for assimilation. My mom is from Belize and I grew up in Michigan, so I know all about that assimilation code switch where you gotta work on it for different people.
Right. No, absolutely. You kind of like grow into that, and it's definitely something that I had to learn, and especially growing up too, learning that. Again, that we're not monolithic. Like, just because I got here and I was seeing people that look just like me and then attempting to speak to them in Creole as a 5-year-old and realizing, oh, wait, you're not Haitian. Okay. Yeah. You're something else. You're Jamaican. You are not the same as me,
Yes.
And learning that we have those differences and being able to explore them, in our real lives, but also on television. We should be able to see different facets of ourselves,
Yes. And speaking of which, do you watch Housewives of Beverly Hills?
I do. And are you going to mention Garcelle?
Yeah. How's she doing? She repping Haiti well? She doing it? The dinner? Did you see the dinner?
I saw the dinner.
Okay, because my best friend is Haitian, and I texted him, and I was like, I don't know. It don't feel like she know a lot about this food. Is this correct? And he goes, that's correct.
It's correct. It was correct. I had a couple of friends hit me up too and was like, okay, so where do I get this?
Where is this?
Like, y'all, they got this griot here in LA. Like, what's good? And I did direct them to the proper place, and we can have a separate conversation after this call if you'd like to know. Yeah,
I would. Good.
But I love Garcelle. I think she's fantastic and great representation of like Haitian people in entertainment.
Yeah, she's really killing it on her own over there. Talk about code switching and surviving and assimilation. Poor Garcelle. She needs a castmate. She needs another Black castmate, y'all. She cannot do this on herself.
Come on, Beverly Hills Housewives.
Come on, give her. You know what? My friend EJ, who's Haitian, said, who should be on the show? Kimora Lee Simmons.
Oh, I would like Kimora on the show.
I would really love a Kimora Lee Simmons. She would shake them up.
She really would. I love that.
Really quickly, because we're running out of time here, but I do want to touch on that first job, that first writing job. What was it and how did you get it?
My first writing job, my first paid writing job.
Yes, that's important.
Right. Yes. Come on, paid. Paid writing writers out there, y'all already know. Yeah, my first paid writing job was working for Issa Rae. She had this scripted podcast called Fruit that is about a sexually fluid football player as he recounts events from his past as it leads up to a scandal. There are 2 seasons of it. You can catch it on iTunes. Anywhere podcasts are available, you can, listen to the first 2 seasons. Yeah, I wrote on that for 2 seasons, it was a fantastic opportunity. Loved every moment of it. We didn't necessarily operate like a traditional writer's room because the days were short. I think season 1, we were in the writer's room for like a week or 2. Season 2, same amount of time. And then we'd go off and write our episodes.
Okay.
So yeah, and then, around that time, I got a job on Claws, the TNT show.
Yes.
As a writer's PA for season 1, and then became the writer's assistant season 2. And then my boss at the time, Janine Sherman Berwa, referred me to her old manager, who then became my manager.
Nice.
And then he then helped me get on Ginny and Georgia. And Ginny and Georgia became my first like traditional like staff.
Great show.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Great show.
And then, full circle moment, I was able to get staffed on the last season of Insecure, thanks to Prentice Penny and Ethan. an amazing experience, fantastic experience. Learned a lot from all the writers who were just amazing, fantastic human beings.
Anything you can give us? Probably not, but might as well take a swing.
I can't say nothing.
I know.
I can't say nothing.
I know. I tried. I tried for the Insecure fans.
Right. No, but I'm so excited for the premiere, and it's October 24th. So.
Hey, a premiere date. There we go. October 24th.
Yeah.
Right in time for Halloween. Good job.
Check it out. Yes.
All right. So I also want to ask you before I get to my final question. All the shows, all the jobs, writing assistant, staffing, everything you've done. What was your best day at work?
Oh, my best day at work. Oh, that's a really good question.
And it could be about the lunch. I'm not going to judge you. That's usually where my best days of work come from. Like we had Taco Bell.
Well, I will say on the first season of Ginny and Georgia, we used to have these like charcuterie board Fridays.
Ooh.
We have this like huge kind of like layout of like meats and cheeses and crackers and jams and all this stuff, and like drink wine too. Like that was our Friday lunch.
That's so ironic because during the pandemic, that was my dinner every night, a charcuterie board. I was lazy. That's all I wanted to do.
It was really a good time. We had a good time in that room. And that's the other thing too I miss like a physical writer's room. They've been virtual for the past year and a half. So I kind of like miss in-person rooms. But I'm really liking being able to roll out of bed into work. So that's
no, that's great. I won't give that up. I really enjoy that. But I'm not wearing pants.
I think my favorite day is like my first day as like a staff writer, I guess, because I felt like, okay, I've walked through the door.
Yeah,
I'm in here now, and like no one is about to push me out. If anything, I'm gonna like have a seat at the table and like build my own table.
Yeah.
And start to kind of like, build out my career.
It's exciting. It really is exciting.
Really exciting. Like, and you hear a lot as an assistant or as a PA or whatever, like on the journey to becoming a writer, you get so discouraged sometimes because you're like, when is it going to happen? When am I going to make it? And you hear from other people who have made it or other showrunners or creators or upper level, lower level writers, what have you. And they say, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And just watch the transition from assistant to staff writer is like nuts. Like it's going to happen for you. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I
know it's always so cliche, but what they're saying is true. It's just
what they're saying is true.
It's true. Which brings me to my last question. What advice would you give your younger writer self? And that could be from the podcast days, or that could be from Ginny and Georgia. That could be from today. Like, what advice would you give yourself?
The best piece of advice I've ever received was from Janine Sherman-Berrois. And all she would ever say to me is like, keep writing. Like something good would happen, she'd say, keep writing. Something not so great would happen, she'd say, keep writing.
Yes. Especially when something good happens, it's like, no.
When something good happens, you're like, you're stuck on the good thing. And then you have to remember that you're only as good as your last writing sample. You're only as good as your last project. So you have to keep the momentum. You have to keep writing. Whenever she said that, I'd be like, okay, I get it. And then now I'm in this position where I'm like, if I wasn't writing all the time, I would not have the opportunities that I have now.
It's very true.
Yeah, I say you're a writer, keep writing.
And I think that is some sound advice to leave us off with today. Mike Goyo, thank you so much for everything you've done, everything you're doing. I'm really excited to see where your career goes. You guys can't see, but I see a little whiteboard behind him, which means he's cooking up something else in the lab. We're gonna get.
I had to move it.
You had to move it because I will write it down. If you keep it, I will go. Spoilers. What is this? Man. Sell it to Deadline. But thank you so much for doing this and just being who you are, being such a kind soul and spirit. It was so great to be able to hang out with you for a little bit of time, and I hope you have you back on the show at some point.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. I would love to come back.
Yes, please do. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thanks to Mike Goyo for coming on the show, and as always, thanks to Sharday Sellers for kicking ass as host. And as always, thanks to you, our listeners. If you liked this episode, leave us a review, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. For news about new episodes and more, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter @Final Draft Inc., and on Instagram @Final Draft Screenwriting. This podcast was produced by Kayla Guess and co-produced by Emma Vranich. Editing is by Sean Bonnet. Music is by T. Kelly. Thanks again, everyone. Until next time, right on.